All right, let's talk about trigger alert. This is why feminism might ruin your son's life. Let's talk about that real quick, because this topic right here, I know it might be triggering, and I want to make sure that I apply as much empathy as possible, because I am not a single dad or a single mom or a single parent. I am none of that. I almost became one. But when I almost became one of the because I've always been this guy, okay, but when it's my own relationship, it's difficult because I'm inside of it, right? Sometimes you have to be outside of the forest to see what's going on inside. Okay, that's why I tell everybody, just because you don't know, is this stuff we have to study from a professional standpoint. And so it takes being objective, it takes studying, it takes being open-minded, it takes continuous education to be able to share some of this stuff that I share. And it takes, above all, it takes patience, because sometimes it takes people to really get a grasp of what we're talking about. I tell you when it's very quick for them to grasp it, when they hit rock bottom. When they hit rock bottom, when they hit hard, and then they want to hear, they want to, that's when people want to. And I always tell people, don't wait until you hit rock bottom. You can just make now the rock bottom. If what you're doing is not working, or you're not sure, or you're not confident about what you're doing, maybe this is a good time to re-engage and continue to learn. But yeah, let's talk about wait, how is that even possible? Like feminism is such a good thing. Why would it ever ruin anybody's life? Like, what are you talking about, right? First of all, anything can destroy anybody. Even water, as sweet and as innocent as water is, you drink too much of it, it can hurt you. At least you can feel bloated if you drink too much of it, right? So anything can, and any good solution in life can also create, no, actually not can. Any good solution in life will create new set of problems. That's just how life works, okay? Because this whole thing is a moving target. It's a moving variable. It's a moving target, okay? So what was a good solution yesterday might end up not being a good solution today, because we're evolving. We're always evolving, right? And also, there's always something that we thought was a good solution. Somebody has turned it to witty, and then somebody's going to take that witty to the next level, right? And while you are like, oh, this is a good thing, this is a good thing, you don't realize that, hey, it's at that level already. It's time to pivot. It's time to adjust. It's time to adapt. Are we getting the results that we're looking for? If we're not confident about that, then we should always continue to study. That's why I always talk about continuous education. Okay, so feminism is basically about equality for all genders. Okay, there's obviously issues that has to do with social, just everybody being equal, having equal access. There's also economy reasons why there's, naturally, if you don't overthink it, you should advocate for feminism, right? Political reasons, political equality between men and women. And that's if you asked me a few years ago, I would confidently say I'm a feminist, okay, without necessarily understanding the intricacies or how far people have taken it, or knowing how the loudest people about feminism on the internet, actually how they move, right? I would just, because why not equality for all genders, right? So but so the original idea was to fight against gender-based inequality. That's the original agenda, right? But it's gone beyond that, so we have to pay attention. Okay, it's gone beyond that. Like any other ideology, it can only go so far. There's something called the law of diminishing returns. Anybody know what law of diminishing returns is? Anybody know what law of diminishing returns are? Let me see. I didn't know, but Ben had Chidima had the last statement here. Got you, but no need for a divorced man to try forced relationship. No, he needs to work on himself. That's the key point. He needs to work on himself. He's created directly or indirectly the results he doesn't like. He's the one talking. He needs to work on himself. It depends on what you mean by force. Like Allah said, you do not ambush them, but I feel we should safely make efforts at having a relationship with our kids. Yes. The key is, while you're making that effort, make sure that you actually also put in effort in making sure you effect the result you're looking for. Just because you make effort is not good enough. You also want to make sure it lands. So it's like communication. Just because you're talking doesn't mean you're communicating. You want to make sure that the other person is receiving it. That's part of your responsibility as a communicator, right? Active listening. That's all we're saying. So, like I said, it's counterintuitive, but this is also related to that. So feminism is supposed to be a good thing, right? But it depends. It depends on how it's applied. Like any other ideology, Christianity, religion, any of this ideology or ideas, it all depends on how you apply them. I hope that's making sense already, right? So beyond equality, there are roles, there are stereotypes, there's even sexuality, right? There's personal relationships, there's personal romantic relationships, and people, it's now no longer just about social justice, equality, economic equality is no longer just about that, or political economy. We have people bringing that into traditional settings, traditional hierarchies, right? Hierarchical structures that we all benefit from today for specific reasons, right? We have people bringing it into that. We also have people also turning it to some kind of anti-men rhetoric belief system. They literally say this out loud. Okay, you might hear things like, oh, men benefit from marriage more than women. While they might be able to make some case for that, anybody who is really actively engaged with that kind of topic, there's a reason. And those are the kind of things we need to watch out for. Okay, there's a young lady on Twitter, Oloni. Her name is Oloni. That's actually one of my auntie's name. She will be the second person I know that has that name. And it's kind of weird, but and she was a big advocate for feminism and pushed a lot of very toxic rhetoric on Twitter for years. Became very popular. She has huge followership on Twitter. Let me even see if I can find her real quick so I can show you what I am talking about, right? One day like that, she just woke up and said she was now engaged, and everybody was like, wait, what do you mean? This is Oloni right here. That's Oloni. Okay, oh sorry, let me show you. That's her right there. Okay, and this is her Twitter page right here. Dating. So now suddenly she's a dating expert. Okay, lover of pop culture. So now she's advocating for love, dating expert. Okay, at one point it was all about feminism and she was going hard, and she had a lot of followers that were literally pushing a lot of the negative rhetoric around feminism. Okay, so again, things like when people start saying things like anything that sounds like anti-men, anything that sounds like all men should buy. Yes, they do say that on this internet street. So I know none of my followers are like that, of course, but sometimes we internalize certain things and we don't know when if you listen to something long enough, it starts to sip in into your soul, into your spirit, into your way of life, to a point that you might not be paying attention. Okay, so before now, anyone can literally be a feminist as long as you believe in equal rights for all genders. But because of some of the loudest noise that we've seen in recent times, okay, we have to be careful. Okay, particularly when it comes to raising our children. So today it's not just about raising sons, it's about raising our children. Okay, it's about raising our children. What does it mean to be objective? Being objective means you can remove your own personal experiences from your outlook at life. That's almost impossible. Okay, that's almost impossible. We all project from our own place of understanding and things like that, you know. But some of us are better than others. Some of us are worse than others when it comes to these things. But, you know, I'm trying my best to, again, apply empathy here. When you are left with children to raise all by yourself, this is usually mothers, okay? Partly because of the fact that our world is gendered. The reality of the world we live in is they come in twos. Nigeria, Yoruba people say, Meji Meji, Lolonda, Iliaye. The God created everything in twos. Double, one side, the other, two eyes, two nostrils, you know. Everything is like symmetric in what, or attempts to be symmetric. Is that the word? Symmetric, right? And it either attempts to be symmetric or it is symmetric. That's just how life is. That's just the reality about life. And the beauty about that is that you can see that as a negative, or you can see that as they complement each other. It's either the glass is half glass full or half glass empty. It's really just based on your perspective in life. So either way, whichever side you fall in that category, not the side of the male or female, the side of see it as half glass empty or see it as half glass full. See, that's another side, another dimensional side, right? Either way, you'll be right. Either way, you'll be right. Because why? The universe will agree with you.
Well, you're right.
You will recreate your outlook on life, you know. Let me see. Chidima says, if feminism equals to strong, independent, aka I don't need a man, and it means bashing men, then I'm out. T for thanks. Yes, most of you ladies that follow us here, that you're part of Prestige family, I naturally know that you're that person, okay? That you're not going to just fall into feminism just anyhow and just be talking at anybody. This is how far they take it. If you smell like a pick-me, you're part of the enemies too. Okay, so it's not even just men that they attack. If you're a pick-me or you're married, you're the same. Okay, so that's how bad it gets, you know. But like I was saying, there's some little small poisons that I want us to talk about today. Yes, what some cultures call yin and yang. Yes, this is just how life is. Okay, and I think it just means we whenever we see that or we perceive life that way, just see it as it complements each other. It's best to see that way, because honestly, you're not going to change that, you know. So now, in terms of so mostly single parents are mostly single moms, right? And there are some single dads out there, you know, but because it's not somewhat of it's not something that someone can look at as epidemic, right? It's just what it is. Maybe the wife is sick, or the wife passed away, or she just left her kids. That happens every now and then too, but it's not just common, right? Most situation is that the children are with the mothers, right? So we have a lot of single mothers, right? And I am also compelled to call them heroes, because circumstantial reasons you find yourself in this situation, you have to carry that cross. And most single mothers that I know carry it with grace, and they carry it very well. So the issues I'm going to talk about today are things that might end up that are in a blind spot, right? They're not your intentions. They're not your personal intentions, obviously, not to hurt your kids. In fact, many of these things, you're doing it from a standpoint of you need to protect your kids, right? So I'm very aware of that, and more so also because I have my wife here, and there are certain times that she moves in which she wants to protect the kids, and I'm like, yeah, thanks, me too, I'm protecting, but this is how we're gonna do it. All right, so it is what it is. So feminism can influence how single mothers raise their sons in a few positive ways. So let's first of all talk about the positive things, right? Obviously, there are certain gender stereotypes that might have been hurtful, you know, and then it challenges it. It doesn't change it. It's not, if you're trying to change it, you're not doing yourself a favor, okay? Because you're not acknowledging what is. You're just trying to pretend that it's not what it's supposed to be, and you're just flipping it. And oftentimes you'll be coming from your own experience. You're projecting your own experience on your kids in that way. So these feminist ideals can lead a mom to project limiting ideas of masculinity. There is masculinity. Masculinity is a beautiful thing. Again, when you think of it as it complements, femininity, right, in our world, right? It's needed. It protects. It's structure. It's order, right? It's rigid. It's repetitive, boring, but protection. Build the structures of civilization as we know it, right? Even emotionally speaking, but we're learning that now that it's needed. That wasn't always a requirement, but it's becoming a requirement. Like now, masculinity needs to engage its emotional intelligence in order to stay relevant. Okay, so that's some of the stuff that we're dealing with. So it can challenge gender stereotypes that might be harmful for us, but there's and that's a good thing. Like, for example, you can teach your sons to explore emotions, interest, and activities that might traditionally be called, that you might traditionally call feminine, right? Things like expressing your feelings, and you might say express your feelings openly. I might be like, no. As a man, I'm like, no. What do you mean openly? Like, okay, tell me what you mean by openly. Like, cry out to the public like Tyrese and Brian McKnight? No, slow down, right? So when you say openly, you mean well, right? You mean well, but oftentimes you're talking to a son. So your son will internalize what you just said, but you have no idea that your son is still looking at other male figures in society, and it can not always, it can create a sense of confusion. Okay, it can create a sense of confusion. So while it's okay that you can encourage your son to also engage in dance and art and things that will be considered feminine traditionally, there's certain nuances there that even men don't know how to teach, but they show it. Because as children learn from examples and experience more so than they learn from what you tell them, right? So the experience and the example they are seeing, and when you compare it to the society at large, it can create a great level of confusion. So challenges gender stereotypes on the surface is supposed to be a good thing, but there are some nuances there that we should continue to talk about. Okay. So what about the raising strong and independent men? That's a good idea, right? Because the feminist ideal also teaches that just raise kids to be independent, just like independent women and all this kind of stuff. But to what extent does this become a toxic thing? Because at the end of the day, the reality is that we are all interdependent, even men, yes. Well, like I teach men nuances. I teach men that you need to be sure of yourself. You need to be self-sustainable. You need to show up as you're self-sustainable so that nobody can take advantage of you and think you're a punk, because they will. Okay. But with that being said, I'm like, oh, but so I could just like, no, you are interdependent. You're a social, emotional being. You will need other people. Okay, to carry that weight you call life, you will need other people. You will leverage other people. That's the reality of life. So the feminist ideal is independent women and no need no men, all that kind of stuff. That instantly falls on its face, because even men cannot move mad like that, right? So imagine raising a son and not being previewed and not paying attention to some of these nuances. Then you might find yourself in a situation where feminism can ruin your son's love life. All right. So raising strong, independent men, positive, but what about the nuances, right? Another one, shared responsibilities. This is big when it comes to finances, chores, in the house and things like that. Yes, on the surface, sounds cool. You can teach them. They can also participate in what might be considered like things like cooking that's supposed to be men, and all this that's supposed to be for women. Now sons can learn this kind of things and stuff like that. I hear this all the time, and yes, it's a positive thing by default to teach your kids to be able to take care of themselves, cook, clean after themselves. Okay, these are literally valuable life skills regardless. All right, so it challenges the idea that housework is solely a woman's domain. All right, now there are some issues there. There's some issues there. There's some, again, as usual, there are some nuances. A lot of that has to do with individual values. We're talking about society level, we're talking about individual, macro, micro, right? And these are some of the issues that's been creating, like all the kids in the dating scene right now, those in the early 20s, late teens, early 20s, even up to like early 30s, are confused in this respect. Like, do you want me to open the door for you, or you don't want me to open the door for you? You're supposed to be independent, now you're fighting for me to open the door for you. Chivalry is dead. Wait, you want chivalry? Wait, I'm confused. Are you a feminist or you want chivalry? Choose one, right? Okay, now I would call them lame, right? But hey, welcome to the world of Gen Zs. Right? But they are literally confused like that. So we need to start paying attention. Okay? So let's clear this up. Not all single moms explicitly identify as feminists. Okay? But you know, there's certain experiences that make you yield more in the direction of certain talking points, rhetorics on the internet, that I feel like, okay, they just fix the issues on the surface level. They fix the issues from a right and wrong standpoint, and not from understanding the full nuances that might have created a breakdown in communication in a previous relationship. We don't pay attention to those things. So, for example, a man said, well, she cannot be a good wife if she can't cook. I'm like, don't fall in love with a girl that cannot cook. It's really that simple. Well, is it that simple? I just used the word "is that simple." That just confused the shit out of them. It's not that simple. The reality, this nuances goes deeper than whatever I'm saying at that point in time. But I'm not their parent either, right? So, but these are the conversations we need to keep having. We need to keep having them. You know, ultimately, whatever we choose to teach our kids should be priority based off of the child's or their future life's well-being. That's where we need to come from. That's the angle we need to come from. Okay. Oftentimes we project what our own ideals are, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. I just think that also has a massive blind spot. If you're not self-aware enough or educated enough to know that the world we live in is always evolving, and prepare your kids that they might not end up in the same world we're in, that's a big problem. Unfortunately, you're gonna have to deal with that additional layers of just because you are the way you are. Okay, the world we live in is literally evolving, right? So there are some core principles that you can teach them. For the most part, they will learn from the example you present. Okay, that's why you have kids nowadays who say, but that's not what you did yesterday. About 40 years ago, you dare not say that. You get smacked upside down your face, right? But these days they'll call you out on the bullshit immediately. They're like, wait, you're inconsistent. If you're lucky, they'll say that. If you're unlucky, you're losing credibility silently, right? And then you end up in a place where Tyrese was giving the example early on. They'll be like, why can't I go out? When you say you can't go out tonight. If I tell my son that he wants to step out with his kids, I say, baby, you can't go out. It's like, why not? He will look at me and say, why not? Like, this is why, like, then he will understand. It won't be the first time we're having that conversation. He might even be sad because he really wanted to hang out with his friend, but it would not be the first time I'm having that conversation with him. Not at that spot. We've had similar conversations. We have some core principles, and they've also seen me move in that way. Is it perfect? No, it's just better. That's all. Okay. So focusing on the child is really, really key in all of this. Okay. Now the part that that is really big blind spot that I think the progressive ideals, feminist ideals are not paying attention to is the balance, what we call balance. Okay, balance. Now, when we say balance, oftentimes some people mean balance the genders or balance the two sides of the stories, and I'm like, no, that's not balance. That's just the easy part. That's just easy. That's easy. Like I can speak to you, like, okay, so that you don't feel sad. You need to come here so that you don't feel sad. If that's what you want, we can do that. Everybody can do that. That's not what we're talking about. When I say balance, I'm saying first step is identify all of the factors involved. Identify all of the factors before you can come at me with balance or the ideals of equity or equality. Have you identified all the variables? Do you know what they call emotional labor on a woman? They say it's not the same emotional labor that a woman has that a man has, just period. It's two different things. So if you don't factor that in when you're calling for balance and fairness, instantly your idea of balance is straight in the poto, because it's while you're trying to be fair, the other person thinks you're being unfair, and then you're locked in a communication breakdown. So now it just seems like the other person is being evil. So you jump on the internet and you call a whole set of group of people evil, right? So like I always said, it's not always that simple. So there's a three major thing here that I wanted to that's really big inside of the that I think we should talk about. Let me see what am I missing here. Let me just come to the chat for a quick second. Brother Ben says, me when I hear feminism, why are you running? Brother Ben, why are you running? Kilo day, what? Why are you running? Anyway, don't run. It's a conversation we need to have, you know. Thanks a lot for speaking to us single moms as heroes. I receive it, but yes, I want to hear the blind spot because I'm here to learn. Awesome. Yeah, I got three big blind spots that I just want us to talk about, and I'll give you potential solutions, not absolute solutions, but something that we can look at, because we have to keep studying it too, because my world, I have to take responsibility for this. Just like Ricky Smiley said earlier on, our world is full of single moms that are literally trying to carry a big responsibility that's supposed to be two people. It makes no sense to come from an angle of shaming. Zero. I don't care how much you try to make sense out of it, it doesn't make any sense. And they're not gonna listen to you anyway. Okay, because clearly they don't feel like they're in the wrong, and you're just making it worse by talking that way. What we need to talk about is how, because they're gonna have children in our same society, and we want to make sure that those children are part of a better society than ours, just like as much as our children, right? Yoruba people say, like if you are the only one that say, oh, perfect world, and you're raising your kids in two-parent household, but the other one, that's just how you move. It shows in the way you move. You're probably, that your two-parent house is going to become one soon too, but in the worst way, because of this is how you move, you know. So thank you so much for that, Chidima. I appreciate that. You can't leave this sisterhood yet. Come back here. Anyway, my sisterhood is not your sisterhood. Leave me, I beg you. My son hugging me when I pick him from school is a way to express emotions openly. He is showing he missed me. Yes, that's definitely emotions. Definitely. This is why I said the nuances, right? Yes, so we are interdependent. God said it is not good for a man to be alone, and anthropologists tell us we are social animals. Precisely, exactly. Bro, you just mentioned core principles. Yes, there are core principles. Yeah, there are core principles, and I also added that they learn them more so from your behavior. If you jakpa, that is a behavior. Okay, you cannot come at me that your child must marry a black person like you. Stop the cap. Okay, you jakpa, you should expect that anything is possible. Okay. Is what it is. Yeah, like there are core principles, but they show more in your behavior, not what you say. A lot of time when people say they have core principles when they are teaching it, it's not what they live. You know, most of the times. Okay, your core principles shows in how you live, in your behavior, and your kids are observing it unintentionally. It's just what they see growing up. Like that's all they know. So they're going to either push hard against that or do exactly what you do. It depends on what kind of child you have, you know. So yes, I did. Core principles. Let's see, let's keep going here. So the three big spots that I want to mention real quick, particularly for single moms, okay, but also for all of us. All right, I'm back. My internet is acting up today. Pardon me. Everybody help me give Xfinity 2 fingers. My internet is acting up. I just saw everything just blanked out. But I think it's probably issue across the board. Probably on our block. But we're back. Can you guys hear me? Let me know you can hear me. And if you can remind me of the last thing I said too, that would be nice. Okay, yes, I was saying, can you guys let me know that you can hear me first before I move forward? I'm still frozen? Okay, I think I'm back, right? Am I back? Am I back? Am I back? Yes, yes, yes. Yes, okay, thank you, Chidima. So I was saying this is for two people. If you're a single mom, yes, it's for you. If you're a single dad and your children are with your ex, this is particularly for you. And if you are a man, a brother, you have your household together, you're doing well with your family, this is for you too. We need you. This is our society. We need you. All right, so please pay attention. Okay, these are some of the blind spots. Okay, lack of male role model. All three of us need to take responsibility for that. Okay, so while feminism encourages breaking stereotypes, some single moms might worry, hopefully not worry, because I don't like anything that's coming from a place of fear. I'd rather you just be intentional. Just know that it's a thing. But this is a thing about their sons not having a strong male role model in the house. This is easy if we're aware. Okay, if you're educated, you're aware, it's super simple, easy. All you have to do is find positive role models, positive male mentors in extended families, okay, in friends, community programs. You need to seek this. They're not usually loud enough for you to hear them automatically. You need to seek this and just have your children in such programs. Sometimes it's as simple as a karate class, you know, on a regular from time to time, you know. But like I said, children learn more from watching and the examples and the experience, and they are learning the nurturing part of our progressive life as we're moving forward. But when it comes to this angle of a male structure, order, that's not to say women don't have order, but when it comes to romantic relationships in particular, there's a certain way that we move, and we're expected to move as part of our social construct. We can't just pretend that doesn't exist anymore, right? What we need to teach them is more nuanced stance on some of these things. Okay, so for example, if you are teaching your boys how to clean after themselves and cook and clean, you cannot afford to miss the part that may not be enough to sustain a romantic relationship. Okay, ultimately they are going to be expected to set the emotional tone in the family, because the woman will build a home with it. And that's gonna be a thing that will have to happen in a certain order. It's not simultaneous, right? So the feminist ideal say simultaneous, everybody is just shared responsibility. While that's not what you mean, sometimes there's certain personalities that interpret it exactly like that. If you're not showing up, me too, I won't show up. But the reality is that as men, especially as we're moving forward in our society, we carry a lot of seeds. We sow seeds. And then there's a season of nurturing that you can help us a lot with. That's why even traditionally, a lot of wives and children will follow the man of the house, the king, to the farm to help nurture. And there is a general understanding, there's a season that you have to wait for before you get to harvest, right? But this relationship nowadays, they just want to fall out of the skies into a ready-made relationship. It will never happen. It's not a curse. Okay, it's never happen. So if you teach this feminist ideal, especially from a lack of nuanced place, it's very easy. You might even miss it. You're like, yes, because she's supposed to too, because I show up 100%, she's supposed to. This attitude can actually be very problematic, because sometimes in life you show up first. Okay, now it's easy when you're in love, when your son is in love in the future and they're in love with another person with the feminist idea, it's easy. But when there's damages, because they will inevitably create some kind of damage, because that's just what it is, right? Romantic relationship, they end up in basbos when there's crisis, right? They will be busy expecting we both show up equally, when in reality there will be differences. Okay, there will be differences, right? And they won't be able to understand what that looks like. It just look like a complete kick against what you taught them, which is everybody should carry their own weight, independent. That's not reality. We're all independent. You should be teaching them from a place of what is your strength and what's your weakness. You find somebody who has strength and weaknesses, you're able to cover them, you cover each other. These are some of the nuances that will be missed. Okay, so instead of focusing on independence, focus, that's the second big blind spot. Focus on interdependence. Okay, interdependence already has independence embedded in that. That means another person might need to depend on you sometimes. Okay, now if you are a man in our society, there's certain weight you're expected to carry to lead the pack. You're expected to be a leader. You will benefit from it. Okay, it's a matter of seasons. There's a time where you get to harvest, meaning you get more than you actually sowed. But you can't afford to have children who go into a romantic relationship expecting equality in this respect, because you never had the conversation. After all, everybody's supposed to show up equally at all times. That's not reality. Could it work? All right, so that's that. So too much emphasis on female independence can lead your son to believe that men shouldn't show vulnerability, okay, or need help. We know that that's not going to work out fine too. Men, it's okay for men to be vulnerable, but they need the correct understanding of vulnerability from a man's standpoint. Again, yielding back to the first one, a male role model will be able to showcase what it looks like to be able to sit around and talk, hug, kiss a wife, be smoozy, but also be able to protect the whole pack when it's time to do that. You know, there's a balance that's needed there. See, I just used the word balance, but with respect to that role. So we're not going to eliminate gender roles. There's more so an evolution going on, not elimination. And I don't think there will ever be elimination, because that's not biologically feasible anyway. Okay, so we can actively seek equity, of course, but equity, or the difference between equity and equality is factors in all these different variables that if you're just coming from a pragmatic standpoint, you can miss. But when you understand that emotions are a big part of what we're talking about, then we need to pay attention. Like, for example, I've been telling all the men that, listen, disconnect from emotions is not going to work for you. Okay, not in this time and age. So you might need to catch up to speed, or lose your wife to the divorce court, or lose your family before you get it. But you need to pay attention to that. So you're no longer needed to protect and provide financially, necessarily, or security around the house. You don't have to go and fight a demon outside, a lion. But emotionally, you're still expected to do that first, as in not equally, not simultaneously, first. So if you're able to teach your sons, either you're a single dad, single mom, you can teach them these nuances, then you'll be fine. Okay, you don't need to sit them down and start having conversation they don't understand right now. But when there's crisis, when they are upset, when they are crying, these are opportunities to showcase, hey, why are you crying? Are you able to do that? Maybe not. Naturally, you want to hug. Why are you crying? You might even start crying yourself. A man will be like, why are you crying? Oh, yeah, talk to me. Okay, clean your eyes. Talk to me. Clean your eyes first. Talk to me. What's going on? See, I can apply, I want to listen. at the same time, I don't want him to get too comfortable in just crying to express himself, right? So, and it doesn't have to be exact like that. It depends on the personality of the child you have too, right? So being in tune with all of that is something that might be considered feminine 30, 40 years ago, but a man needs to step that up now, right? But still needs to, but because of the natural innate part of him that is a man, he's able to say, because it doesn't sit well with him already, so he's actually exercising self-control, but he's also saying, okay, I need to listen to my baby, but I need to also not just cuddle him up like, hey, why are you crying? Okay, clean your eyes first, go take care of that first. Okay, come, so what's up? All right, so this is how you handle that. There's a way a father or a father figure does that. There's a way that a typical mother handles that. And if you do enough of that during their childhood, that actually ends up becoming a thing in their life later on, okay? And they might not end up with their mother. Go figure. All right, so the last one, so the first one is lack of male role model, okay? So we're all going to take responsibility for that. In your every little capacity, you have a friend who's a single mother or anything like that, you're open. If you're close enough, you're open for them to come and spend a little time with your own kids, sit around, eat dinner together, and sow some seeds into this kid's life. You know, girl child also need the same thing. They also need male. They need the balance, okay? They need to see these different perspectives, okay? This is why so it's still very true that it takes a village. To a large extent, it's still very, very true. Unless you live in New York, of course. I'm just kidding. Shut up. I'm throwing stones at New Yorkers. But anyway, the second one is focus on interdependence as opposed to independence, okay? Highlight it. We're in a world that they're going to hear more about independence anyway. So highlight interdependence and why it is very, very important. The third one is unrealistic expectations of women. Okay, if you raise your son with feminist ideals, they can potentially have unrealistic expectations of women. Okay, all right. Very, very important. If you raise them with strong, I call it strong can creep up on you. You might just be like, no, I'm just a regular feminist. And you might not. The strong thing can creep up on you. The reality is that we're in the feminist world. We do want there to be gender equality across the board. When it comes to social, economy, but even in the family, okay? But we need to add some nuances to that, because some of these quote-unquote gender roles is what make one side of the gender feel more fulfilled than the other, okay? Or not than the other. Like each side feel more fulfilled. It's just the reality. Like you feel like some people feel like a lady when they're able to cater to their men, right? Some people feel like a man when they feel needed by their girl. These are part of who we are. It's in our DNA, right? But we question all of that when we enter crisis, right? Especially women will question all of that. You're looking down on me. What a man can do, a woman can even do better. That conversation does not, and a healthy relationship, romantic relationship, they don't go together. You can't see it. You barely will find a person. I doubt if you find a person in a healthy romantic relationship saying such words. It's not their reality, right? So now, if you don't care for that, then do you. But if you can't put those two things together, right? And a lot of people are actively trying to put that together. So anyway, like I was saying, so those are the three major blind spots there. Lack of male role model, right? Focus on interdependence and balances with independence. Independence, self-sustainability is good, particularly so they can have things to offer other people. Okay, so they can have enough to bring to the table to offer a person that they have romantic interest in the future. Helping them understand that sometimes you have to lead. If you are able to complain, then it's okay to lead your relationship out of a funk and stop waiting for equality. Most people that are in this equality pack, they just end up in glass-box communication because they're always holding other people to this unrealistic high standards, and that's just not how life works, you know. So these are blind spots that I just wanted to think a little bit harder and think a little bit more around when we are handling crisis. When it comes to raising our children across the board, but in this case we're talking about sons, because masculinity is still needed in our society, particularly when it comes to the application of emotional intelligence. Okay, masculinity is needed badly right now. Okay, we have too many people trying to operate in a feminine role, and that's chaotic. As beautiful as that sounds, that's a chaotic thing. Okay, we need people that can continue to be essence of structure, order, security, safety in our society. And so yeah. And the third one is unrealistic expectations of women. Women are when it comes to romantic relationships, incubators. They receive, they multiply, and then they reciprocate. You cannot lose sowing a seed into a woman's life. I'm not talking about bad women, for those that are stuck on the bad women in their lives. I'm talking about women, period. Okay, generally speaking, women are incubators. Okay, and not to objectify them, they are humans. I'm just saying, in the reality of when you sow a seed into a woman's life, they receive it, multiply it. Just look at every reality, and then they reciprocate. But if you are not patient and you're bringing that, oh, everybody should show up equally, you will shoot yourself on the legs. Gentlemen, I've been saying that forever, but I'm talking about raising sons right now. Please don't teach them that they must, don't just be obsessed with what a woman brings to the table. Is a very quick way to shoot yourself on the legs as a man. Okay? Yeah, I think we've handled it. Let me come to the chat so we can round up. He's some more. Hello. I just enrolled my children in martial arts. Awesome. Yep. Actually, I haven't done that. I've never done that, but I should do that. I've always wanted to do that, but I could probably step up my game too. I have a question a lot, but after your 3 blind spots, because it may get answered as we go along. Oh yeah, give me the question. Please link so I can. Oh, link. Sorry about that. Let me drop the link. All right, let's do that. So now I understand that this is a very delicate thing, and but that's why we're having the conversation. That's why we're having. Oh, let me see. Okay, this is that. Arguing consistently in your marriage. This is why. Oh, okay. I gotta clean that up. All right. Let's see. I dropped the link. All right, cool. Hey, Chindima, how far? How you doing?
Good evening, Ola. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes.
Oh, wow. In real time today. Yay.
In real time. I knew you were going to say that.
You know me well now. Okay,
Yes, so.
The third thing you raised about, what did you call it? Not having unrealistic expectations of women, something like that.
Yes.
Yes,
that's the third one. Having unrealistic. You want to be careful not to teach them
Right.
to have unrealistic expectations of women.
That somewhat answered my question, but not fully. So I still want to ask it so you can give more flesh to the answer and flesh it out.
Okay.
So my question is, I'm a single mom. I'm raising boys, right? So they are seeing me in my masculine role, but I'm in my masculine role as a matter of survival, literally because I don't have the choice. So I'm doing everything. Now, how can I prevent them from, when they get into a relationship, mirroring now to the point where they don't allow a woman to? Bible says woman is your helpmeet. Give her avenues to actually help them, but want to do everything. They are now too masculine. It's not toxic. They're not being controlling or DV. They're just too masculine that they don't even understand that, hey, relax. Somebody's here to help you. She's your helpmate. They don't need. They don't need to survive, but they don't differentiate. I'm doing this as survival from this is the norm, because this is what they see modeled to them for the most part.
Right.
Fine, they have male mentors. Fine, they have all these people. But at the end of the day, I'm their main role model. So how can I prevent that? That is one side. The question has two sides.
Okay.
The other side of the same question is, how do I prevent them from now expecting too much of a woman, expecting their wife generally to be me,
Yeah.
when that woman doesn't have to be me because again she's not in survival mode.
Right.
So
Right.
how do I prevent either or from happening?
So I think a major part of that, by default, you're probably doing your best, right?
Yeah.
Which is what we're talking about. It's like a gift and a curse. Like, hey, you're showing
Right.
up, doing all the responsibility, but then they're seeing a woman in masculine
Right.
roles. I want us to also be careful about that. What you're doing does not necessarily have to be masculine role. It could just be you're taking care of needed responsibilities, right?
Okay.
I don't like bringing the masculine and feminine thing into conversations if we're not talking about in effort to create sexual polarity.
Oh, okay.
You see
I
what I'm
see.
saying?
Yeah, yeah.
If it's a survivor, it's survival. So what
Okay.
they're learning from you is survival. They should learn that. You
Okay.
know. Now, it's good that we're now linking it to the expectations on their wife in the future,
Right.
right?
Out of the
Because
topic you have, that's why I'm linking it.
that's the blind spot. That's a
Yeah.
massive blind spot,
Right.
So if you remember the other conversation about teaching them house chores and
Right.
stuff like
Right.
that, that's pretty cool. I want us to think of it as what it is, which is life survival skills.
Yeah.
Not that suddenly they will be better for a woman, not necessarily
Mm-hmm.
that they will be better for a woman. They might, like we're saying right now, actually have unrealistic expectation
Right.
of a woman. So the best way to do that is what I've spelled out, which is making sure that they are enrolled in things like martial arts,
Okay.
and also but particularly within the family circle. If you have extended family, people that they can familiarize themselves, their culture, even though they might be raised in America or in the Western
Mm-hmm.
world, there's a sense of culture. You want them to be able to see that,
Okay.
not teaching them in words. They need to see what it looks like from time to
Yeah.
time whenever the opportunity presents itself.
Okay.
But the other opportunity is, like, let's say they get into a fight, or they're having, so randomly I would have scenario based conversations with my own boys, right?
Okay.
I just random. It'd be completely random, and they enjoy it every time I do it because they know this man. Because they know I'm a teacher, so they know I'll just come with my teaching again. But I always present in a way that they are the one engaging me, not the other way around. I'm not teaching. We're having a conversation. So certain scenarios, that maybe we can come up with later on to just have them discuss. What if you find yourself in a situation with your wife? Your wife breaks down and you might even write like randomly and she start crying and you can't understand it. She's been crying for 3 hours. What would you do, right? So you want to pick on their response, and those are the
Right.
opportunities to teach that and say, actually, no, she's your lady, she's a lady,
Okay.
right? And she probably wants to feel safe. Do you understand what it means to feel safe? Why should she feel safe? A lot of why. Just asking deeper and deeper
Okay.
why, just to get them digging a little bit further. But the key thing there is that just awareness. You want them to be aware that a man is different from a woman in the way they show up into a relationship
Yeah.
where they feel safe. And if there's crisis, how would they handle such crisis
Okay.
without expecting that, well, my mother did this. First of all, they should never be comparing.
Right.
So,
Well.
but you never know, because if that's their reality and they now see somebody that's seemingly weak in their eyes,
Right. Not measuring up. Yeah.
and in a world where when you go everywhere it's supposed to be equal, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, I literally see 20-something-year-old men say, "Why can't she be an adult too?" They say, "Be an adult," and then they put two behind it, and they're talking about a woman, right? And I'm like, Jesus, I'm scared for this man, because it's not that she's not an adult. It's just, and it's irrelevant to what's going on. So those nuances will come in the form of examples and scenario-based conversations.
Okay.
Not generalized conversation. Either you say, women are supposed to be equal to men, or you're saying men are supposed to be, all those are generalized topics. Let's bring it down to case by case examples.
Okay, so for example, that case Robin posted in the back room, right, in the chat, where you read it, right? How I responded to my son based on
I read it. I'm going to try to scroll. It's probably so far back now. I'm trying to see if I can scroll
Okay,
back to
I can
it.
summarize for you.
Okay, summarize.
Summarize for you.
Yeah.
So one morning we woke up, I think 2 or 3 mornings ago, and I said, okay, be me, help me get your brother ready for school. His older brother 13. My son is
Okay.
11.
Okay.
So he made his breakfast, packed his school lunch, laid out his clothes, everything, his uniform, everything. While he was doing the last part, I heard him muttering, I'm so happy I'm going to be a dad when I grow up, so I don't have to do any of this.
Right.
That shook me. You know,
I remember that now. Yeah.
Part of the reason why it shook me is because just the day before or so on our TV show, we had seen a man that says, I cannot take my son to soccer because I'm being errand boy. So somehow my brain made
that person was a clown. Why are we bringing that?
I know. No, I know. But somehow my,
Okay,
my brain just jumped like, hey, well, if my son is thinking like this, before you know it, it will progress to that level of thinking. So I don't know. I guess I panicked, because I just saw that if this isn't nipped in the bud and he interacts with people that think like this, over time he must start imbibing some of these thoughts, and it might go all the way to the extreme. So that's
the
why
word.
Like,
what you just said is what happened. The panic.
I panicked. I have to admit, I did it. I definitely panicked. So out of fear, I was like.
But what's the source? What is the source of that panic?
The absentee father. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So the absentee father.
I'm being honest. He's not doing much. Yeah.
Right. So it's fear. It's fear, panic, issues, your own personal experiences.
Yes. That's what that man said. Everything just came to my head like everything just jammed. You know how our brain is connected like wire. You know that thing, that video. How women's brain is. So that wiring was exploding in my head.
You connected to all these different things.
Everything, exactly.
Right. So that's what makes you a hero, because I can't imagine, that's one of the realities we're talking about. As a man, we drop that into a box and we don't connect with anything else.
No, I connected everything right away, and I was just like, hey, whoa, this man, this young boy now, if we expect him to his wife, imagine if he just get to a baby and she's so feeling weak, he won't feel like he needs to do anything.
So the best thing to do in that case is always, first of all, you ask, what do you mean?
Okay.
Just asking what does it mean, so you can elaborate. Okay. Fear is one of the things we have to manage in relationships. Fear is part of life. We all have fear, right? So what we do with it is what matters. I get bombarded with fear too, but what I try not to do is act from a place of fear, because when you do, you just create more damages. And while your intentions were good, you're just trying to protect, like fear, like let's make it. You might just build a castle around yourself, and that thing can cave in on yourself, So, and that's what we're trying to avoid. So always, just if you see anything like that triggers you in that way, because we're trying to engage the nuance. Another way to put that is engage the fear. Just say, what do you mean? Right?
Okay. Thank you. That's not what I did, but let me tell you what I did.
Yeah. What did you do?
What I did was tell him, well, you guys sweep, you guys clean, you guys do this and do that at home, right? And there's none of these roles we do at home that are gendered. So what makes you think parental roles are gendered? Men can do everything for a child, literally minus breastfeeding. A woman can, I explain to them that a woman can pump the thing and put it in a bottle, and the man still gives the baby breast milk. He can clothe, bathe, feed, rock the baby to sleep, do everything. So please don't ever think that it's only a woman's role to do that. Anybody can do that. That's all. That's just what I said.
I like that. But here's the thing. Here's what I would have added on to, not had it to them, but you need to be aware, just in case it comes up in the future in a way, because that particular issue, you addressed it and you isolated it and left it alone. That's perfect. But one thing you need to be aware of, and every woman or single mother listening to me need to be aware of, is in his own family in the future, that might be gendered.
It might be, right.
Yeah,
It
and it might be
might,
what makes them happy, and they
right.
need to be okay with
Exactly.
that.
That might be their own reality. Yes.
Yes,
He
yes,
might be showing up in other ways.
yes. So in case the woman says, "Get out of my kitchen, don't touch my soup," we
Right.
don't want him to overreact. We need to understand, okay, that person is
True.
coming from just the nuances of that. We need him to understand that that's how she was raised. That's the woman you fell in love with. She said, "No, no, no, leave the curtains of the house for me. I want to choose the color." He's not there
Okay.
fighting his woman over what the
Yeah.
color of the curtains in the room is.
Okay.
You
Okay.
see, that's the blind spot right there, and the way
Right.
it shows up in the future can be very, very dangerous if we're not aware of it. Particularly
Okay.
with
I'm
the
just,
boys we're raising today, they have lower
yes.
testosterone, right? They have
Oh.
biological reasons why they are more feminine. So we just want to prepare them for the best. We're not going to control everything. Just prepare them for a more. We don't want to
Nuance
prepare
more.
them for. We don't want to prepare them for this rigid equality thing. We want to prepare them for flexibility. Flexibility.
That's the word. That's the
Yeah.
word. Yeah. To
Yeah.
have like managing your expectations is another way of putting it,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Yep. If you want me to cook, I can cook. If you want me to get out of your
Right.
kitchen, okay, my lady, I'll go and watch TV and rest. That's what we need to be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm
So
glad I
because
raised this because you've brought up so many different sides of it, including some of my own
yeah.
blind spots. Because I really am very intentional with how I'm raising my boys. Like
I know, I could
I'm
tell.
really
This is
trying.
what scares me because I know you're being intentional. I know that it's coming from a good place. And I know that like everything else, like all the ideologies, that also has its downsides.
Right.
So flexibility, open communication, open-mindedness, with respect to knowing that we still live in a social construct.
Yes.
There are certain ways that things move. We don't just want to say, no, 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 me, I'll do my thing like that. You collect later on because you still
Yeah.
have to deal with all these people.
Okay.
Yeah. So I hope that helps.
Obiri. Uncle Ben.
Oh, Barry. Yeah, I don't mind him. Don't mind him.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Ola, for answering my question. Very,
Thank you
very
so
well
much
answered.
for popping the question. It's a lot of people are gonna find it helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, talk soon. All right, so I think we should leave it at that. Shout out to Brother Ben, shout out to Chidima, shout out to, I think Natu showed up early on. A few people are watching behind the scenes. I know today it's kind of late. But I appreciate all of you now. Hit the like button, share, subscribe, turn up your notifications so you are notified whenever we go live. We'll be back tomorrow, 7 p.m. I think. We'll be back, okay? I think we'll be back, okay? All right, hopefully you've been enlightened, educated. We'll see you on the next one, and peace.
It's your love that I've been missing. I miss all your hugs, your touching and kissing. Make love on the floor, the couch in the kitchen. One love enough, we done enough.